Bienvenidos a la tercera clase de este curso de inglés pre-avanzado completamente gratis. I upload a new video every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you subscribe to my channel to receive notifications. And don't forget, you can always join the Facebook group to download my resources and my presentations for free. In today's class, we're going to be looking at reported speech in different tenses. Then we're going to be looking at reported speech questions, so how to report a question. And finally, we're going to look at all the different verbs you can use to report speech, along with the classic said and told me. Okay? Let's begin. So the first thing we're going to look at is reported speech in lots of different tenses, all right? This is pretty simple. Person A tells person B something, and then person B wants to tell person C what person A said. So, person A to person B says, I don't like Sarah. Person B tells person C, A said he didn't like Sarah. Okay? Look at what's changing there. Person A says to person B, I am seeing a new guy. Person B reports to person C, she said she was seeing a new guy. Again, look at the difference between I'm and was. Person A says to person B, I will do it later. And then later, person B reminds person A, saying, you promised you would do it later. Again, look at the difference between will and would. Can you see a pattern? ¿Ven un padrón? Do you see a pattern here? What's happening? So reported speech looks like this, as you can see. Tony likes ketchup. So let's say that a guy called Tim says all of these things, okay? So we're reporting what Tim said. Tony likes ketchup. The grammatically correct way to report this would be to change it from present to past, okay? Tim said Tony liked ketchup, okay? Tony likes ketchup. Tim said Tony liked ketchup. But, and this is important and applies for the vast majority, a lot of the time people use the exact same tense when they're reporting. Tim said Tony likes ketchup, okay? I don't think there's any problem with that, especially since like ketchup is something which continues in the present, all right? I am watching that series too. Tim said he was watching that series too. Okay, look at the difference there. In reported speech, everything goes back. It goes back one level. But again, people often say, he's watching, right? They don't actually change it. Tim said he's watching that series too. In most grammar books, it's going to teach you the first way, but it's not going to tell you. But really, in common writing and common speech these days, people actually use the same tense as the original speech. But hey. We've travelled to Italy. Tim said they'd travelled to Italy, right? So have travelled changes to had travelled. But again, people use the same tense to report. They've been dating for years. What do you think it's going to be? I hope you said the have changes to had, right? Tim said they had been dating for years. And again, we can use the same tense. We went to the supermarket. Okay, so from past changes to past perfect. What's it going to be? Tim said they had or they'd gone to the supermarket. And again, you can use the same pretty much in all situations. Bill hadn't tried seafood before. In this case, it's past perfect. And I can't think of anything that's more past than past perfect. Okay, so we actually just use the same. Tim said Bill hadn't tried seafood before, so it's exactly the same as it is in the original speech. I won't come back here again. This is with will. So will does change. Tim said he wouldn't come back here again. So will changes to would and won't changes to wouldn't. But again, we can use the simple form if we want. Tim said he wouldn't come back here again, or Tim said he won't come back here again. It's the same, okay? Grammar books might tell you differently, but they're exactly the same. Janet's going to study architecture. Tim said Janet was going. That's the correct way because it's is going shifts back to was going to study. Iba a estudiar, right? Or again, we can use the same form. My son can't talk yet. In this case, again, can changes to could in the past, right? So Tim said his son couldn't talk yet. Or you can use exactly the same formation as always. Tim said his son can't talk yet. And then finally, I would shut up if I were you. With this one, you can't really change it very much. We would just say, Tim said he would shut up if he were me. Okay, so we're just changing the pronouns there, but the verbs stay the same. Okay, so pattern. Basically, for everything, you can cheat and you can use exactly the same tense that was used in the original speech if you want to. There is no problem. But if you're wondering why people say a D, like they had gone instead of went, well, this is why. Because the correct grammar, the official grammatical correct answer would be to backshift everything that's said one tense past. So present becomes past. Present continuous becomes past continuous. Will becomes would. Can becomes could. All of these are rules which you should follow and you will definitely see people use. But in reality, you can pretty much report everything in the same tense that is said. Let's try some exercises. Go to point number 1 in the description to do the activity. So this is the page for the activity. It's my favorite page. Change the direct speech into reported speech. Use she said at the beginning of every answer, okay? It's the same day, so you don't need to change the time expression. So basically we're saying she said for everything. So let's look at this. She said he works in a bank. We could say that, right? But let's do it the correct way for the teacher. She said, ella dijo que, let's always include in this page, not in real life, okay? But in this page, I think you have to include that, okay? She said that he works is present tense, so it's going to become past tense. She said that he worked in a bank, okay? The reality is, in real life, you could just say, she said he works in a bank, all right? But let's follow the teacher's rules on this page. She likes that answer, good. For the second one, she said, bueno, si ella dijo, we went out last night, significa que ella es parte de we, de nosotros, no? So I think she said, again, vamos a incluir that. She said that they had gone out, porque went out is past, so I'm going to change it to habían salido, right? Habían salido, past perfect, out last night. Let's check it. Awesome. You need to check what time it is so you can shift it back, but also if it's negative, affirmative, you need to be careful, right? Look at this one. I didn't go to the party. She said don't forget, she said that she hadn't gone to the party. Let's check that one. Finish the activity and I will see you in a moment. I hope that went well. Let's continue. So now, after we've looked at reported speech in different tenses, I want to look at reported speech questions, okay? Because it can be a little bit tricky. Look at these. Questions change tense in the same way. Where are you from? She asked me where I was from. How did you finish? She asked me how I had finished, okay? Again, if we want to, we don't have to make these changes, right? But the grammatically correct way of doing it is this way. It's perfectly fine to say, she asked me where I'm from. She asked me how I finished it. They're both fine, okay? But anyway, we're back shifting because that's the correct thing to do. But there is another change. Look at that, the order. Look at the order, the sequence of these words. What's different between the question and the reported question? So you can see that when we report questions, we make the sentence affirmative, a simple affirmative. So, how did you finish, or where are you, becomes how I had finished, where I was, as opposed to where was I, right? Or how had I. It becomes an affirmative sentence. With questions, we can still cheat. Like I said, we can still cheat. You can say this, right? How did you finish it? She asked me how I finished it. But we have to change that order to affirmative or it sounds very Spanglish. It sounds wrong. For yes and no questions, we use the word if. Like Spanish, you would say si. Me preguntó si yo quería, right? She asked me if I wanted. Okay. Have you seen him is a yes or no question, right? The answer is yes or no. She asked me if I had seen him. Again, not she asked me if had I seen him. No, if I had. It's an affirmative sentence when it's reported, okay? A reported question becomes affirmative. So again, now this is an activity, okay? You can stop the video and you can try and complete the answers. So I'll give you the first two. Why do you have dogs? She asked me, right? She asked me why. The verb is have. It's going to be in the past. It's not going to be why had I. It's going to be why I had dogs. Okay. Tim asked me why I had dogs. And again, I'm putting in here the second option, the cheat option, because it's not a problem. You can leave it in the same tense. It's not an issue. But the grammatically correct way to do it is to change the tense backwards, right? Just don't forget that with the question, it's an affirmative. Why I had and not why had I, okay? What are you watching? Tim asked me what I was watching, okay? Again, not what was I, but what I was. Right, so stop the video, do the rest, because I'm going to tell you the answers, okay? 3, 2, 1. Where have you traveled to? Okay, so this is present perfect. Where have you traveled to? Tim asked me where I had traveled to, right? Tim asked me where I had traveled to. Where have you been working? Had. Again, this is going to change to had. Don't forget, it's affirmative. Tim asked me where I had been working, or where I'd been working. Did you see her? That's a yes or no question, right? So be careful. Yes or no question includes what word? If. So Tim asked me, and this is past tense, so it's going to become past perfect. Si yo la había visto, right? If I had seen her. Tim asked me if I had seen her. Where had you gone? We can't change this into more past because it's already past perfect. Tim asked me where I had gone, right? Will I see you again? Will can change to would, or you can leave it as will if you want. Tim asked me if he would see me again. Where are you going to study? Are becomes was. Tim asked me where I was going to study. Can you play the piano? Can changes to could if you want. Tim asked me if I could. This is a yes-no question, right? So it has if. Tim asked me if I could play the piano. And then finally, could you hear me okay? That's very common right now on the Zooms and the Meets, right? For our digital classes and everything. Could you hear me okay is a yes or no question. So the answer is going to be, Tim asked me if I could hear him okay. Let's try some more exercises. Go to point number 2 in the description to open the activity. So again, this is the page for the activity, my favorite page. This is for question words, reporting question words. In a minute, we're going to do a separate activity for the yes-no questions, okay? Make reported questions. Start your answer with, she asked me, okay? In every sentence. So, why is Julie sad? She asked me why Julie was sad, right? Remember, is changes to was, and the order changes to an affirmative sentence. Let's check it. Awesome. What's for dinner? Okay, this is present tense, but this for dinner, para la cena, no va a cambiar de orden because it has a preposition here. So she asked me what was for dinner. Okay. Let's check it. Awesome. Who is the woman in the red dress? Okay. She asked me who the woman in the red dress, un objeto muy largo, was. Okay. And this is the second activity. This is for the yes and no questions with if. Again, we're using she asked me. Okay. Am I late? She asked me if she was late. Remember, affirmative sentence, changing am to was. Let's check it. Awesome. Is it cold outside? She asked me if it was cold outside. Again, changing the order, changing the tense. Let's check it. Awesome. Finish both the activities and I will see you in a moment. I hope that went well. Let's continue. Okay, so we looked at reported speech questions, and now I want us to look at different verbs for reporting, okay? And there are millions. Okay, maybe not millions, but alternatives for said, because all we ever say is said, right? She said, he said, I said. Why don't we try and have a variation? He said he wanted to go, he said he wants to go. The original speech, I want to go, right? Tell, this is the second most common. Almost always followed by an object, right? Tell someone that, which is optional, and then a clause. So, for example, he told me he wanted to go. He told me he wants to go. Okay, again, we're using the same example, right? I want to go. He told me he wanted because it's present. Or if we're being easy, we're taking the cheat option. We can use exactly the same tense. Tell me, tell him, tell her, tell someone something. Sarah told John she wanted a divorce. She told him she wants a divorce. Orders, okay? So this is tell, you tell someone. In this case, if you're giving someone an instruction, like do it, we use tell and the infinitive, okay? So for example, if your mom says, clean your room, she told me to clean my room, okay? She told me to clean my room. That's an order, right? Me dijo que hiciera, que limpiara, que algo así, right? It's an imperative. She told me to clean my room. There are many, many other reporting verbs, all right? So look at explain. Explain is another one. You explain something, right? For example, my mom explained that we didn't have enough money. She said we don't have enough money. Explain something to someone as well. For example, the math teacher explained the answer to me, right? That's verbs with two objects. Do you remember that? Explain something to someone, right? Very, very important that you don't say explained me something, because that's actually a Spanglish, me explicó. That's a very, very obvious mistake, and it's very Spanglish, okay? La maestra de matemáticas me explicó la respuesta. En inglés sería explained the answer to me. You can't say explained me in English, no. You can also have explain a question word in an infinitive. For example, the technician explained how to connect the internet. So that's not an order, that's an explication. It's like an instruction, right? Cómo hacer algo, how to do something. The technician explained how to connect to the internet. You can also have explain plus a question word and a clause, all right? So for example, my dad explained how he would fix the car, right? My dad explained how he would fix the car. Mi papá explicó cómo arreglaría el carro, right? Explain is another one. Agree. You agree to do something as an infinitive. So if two people are talking, I think we should start again. Okay, we agreed to start again. You can agree that something. So for example, I think we should start again, and a reporting okay. You can say, I agreed, we should start again, okay? Two different ways of reporting speech. Advise is another one. Advise someone to do something. You should apply for the job. He said I should apply for the job, or he advised me to apply for the job. Okay, he advised me to apply for the job. You can advise against something, but it has to be an ing, a verb with an ing. You shouldn't apply for the job. He said I shouldn't apply for the job, or he advised against applying for the job. She apologized to me, right? That's another one. Apologize to me for the damage. We decided to try again. So apologize, decide, explain. There's lots and lots of alternatives for say and tell always, right? We decided to try again, so that's with an infinitive. We decided to do something. We decided it was a good idea, that's a clause. She encouraged me to think about it. You should think about it. You promised to help. You promised to help. You promised me you would help. I promise I will help you. You promised me, if you want to include it. John recommended, it's another verb, recommended going. You always recommend ing. I recommend starting soon. John recommended that we, again, you can use recommend with a clause, the same as promise. Recommended we go to the restaurant. My wife reminded me. So if she says, don't forget to buy ketchup, and I can say, my wife reminded me to buy ketchup. My wife reminded me that we needed ketchup. Same thing again. Don't forget we need ketchup. Reminded me that we needed. The teacher suggested I do it again. You should do it again. The teacher suggested doing it again. You should do it again. So there's a ton. I mean, here you can see, right? So we have said and tell, explain, advise. And now all of these, apologize, decide, encourage, promise, recommend, remind, suggest. These are all verbs that can function as reported speech verbs. If you want to get complicated, if you want to vary your English. And here you have an example of all the different structures you can use with these verbs to report speech. And here you have the examples of the speech, right? So yes, that's a good idea. We decided that it was a good idea, okay? And those aren't the only ones. Here's some more. Warn, admit, claim, shout, insist, inquire, which is an alternative for ask. So there's so many. I don't want to spend 10 classes talking to you about all the different verbs you can use to report speech, but I wanted to offer you some alternatives for said and told, okay, for your vocabulary a little. So all of these, right? Say and tell and explain, agree, advise, apologize, decide, encourage, promise, recommend, remind, suggest, warn, admit, claim, inquire, insist. There are so many. Let's do an exercise. Go to point number 3 in the description to do the activity. Yes, you guessed it. It's the same page. This time, we're going to make a new sentence with the same meaning using the reported verb in brackets. Okay, so now we're going to be using these different alternatives for said and told, all right? Because it's more interesting. You shouldn't go into the water, said the Coast Guard. This is advise against. So you can refer to what I said in the presentation, okay? Remember, advise against is always followed by ing. Okay, so the Coast Guard, because it's the Coast Guard that's talking, the Coast Guard advised against going into the water. Let's check that one. Awesome. I'll go to France on holiday, said John. Decide using the infinitive, okay. Decide to, right. John decided to go to France on holiday. I think you should go to the dentist, Julie said to Tom. Advise using the infinitive. So Julie advised Tom. Remember, it's advise and someone and then to do something. So Julie advised Tom to go to the dentist. Let's check it. Awesome. So you're probably going to need to refer back to my presentation a few minutes ago to check. So for example, advise to something, advise against doing something, encourage, warn, etc. You have all of these different verbs that we've been looking at. Finish the activity and I will see you in a moment. I hope that went well. Let's continue. Okay, well that's everything I wanted to see with reported speech, but now it's time for a song. Okay, so here is a song by the Beatles. It's called Norwegian Wood from 1965, and I want you to find the examples of reported speech in here, okay? So, check it. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Lots and lots and lots of reported speech and some direct speech as well. I once had a girl. Una vez tuve una niña. Bueno, una novia, ¿no? Or should I say, she once had me? O quizás debo decir que una vez ella me tuvo a mí, right? She showed me her room, me mostró su cuarto. Isn't it good Norwegian wood? No es buena la madera de Noruega? Okay, I'm guessing that is the room was decorated, but it could be a double meaning because wood also means an erection, so who knows, right? Isn't it good Norwegian wood? She asked me to stay. Me pidió que me quedara, right? She asked me to stay, and she told me to sit anywhere, right? So what would the direct speech be? What did the girl say? She said, stay, sit anywhere. Okay? Because it's an imperative, right? She asked me to stay. No, stay, please stay. She told me to sit anywhere. Sit anywhere. Okay? So, I looked around and I noticed there wasn't a chair. Estaba viendo por ahí y no había una silla. I sat on a rug, biding my time. Okay, rug is, I forget the word in Spanish, but it's like a big carpet. Alfombra, maybe, is the word you use. I sat on the rug, biding my time, like esperando. Biding my time is an expression for esperando. Drinking her wine, tomando su vino. We talked until 2, and then she said, it's time for bed. Hablamos hasta las 2, y luego ella dijo, es hora de dormir. She said it's time for bed. And that for bed, es hora de ir a la cama, se podría interpretar como hora de hacer relaciones o hora de dormir, ¿no? Y vamos a ver ahorita lo que pasó. She said it's time for bed. That's direct speech. Me dijo que ella trabajaba. She told me she worked in the morning and started to laugh. Okay, so she's telling him that they should go to bed, but that she's working in the morning. So basically she's saying that she's not going to have sex with him, I guess. And he said, I told her I didn't. Le dije que no, yo no trabajaba en la mañana. I crawled off to sleep in the bath, okay? So they go to bed. She says she's working in the morning. So he says, I'm not. I guess he's kind of frustrated that they're not going to have sex. So he goes to sleep in the bath. I crawled, right? I crawled off to sleep in the bath. Gatear, crawl. And when I awoke, I was alone. This bird had flown, okay? Cuando me desperté estaba solo, ella se había ido, el pájaro se había ido, okay, this bird had flown. So I lit a fire, entonces prendí un fuego. No es buena la madera noruega. I mean, the interpretation of the song is that he wanted to have sex with this woman. She didn't want to have sex with him. So when he woke up in the morning and she was gone, he burned down her house. Yeah. Probably my interpretation of that song is completely wrong, and I apologize to Beatles fans. It's a good song, though. It's catchy. Okay, final thing for today is to look at our idioms. Idioms today, we have 3. Push the boat out, pull out the stops, and go the whole 9 yards. Okay, wow, you really pushed the boat out with this party. Okay, so if I'm talking to the organizer of the party, like for example, if I'm talking to Mr. Gatsby and he has these amazing parties, if you push the boat out, it means you really made an effort, or you made an extravagant effort, okay? In the past, this just meant offer somebody a drink. It's actually interesting that the boat, la lancha, actually comes from a boat of alcohol, like a drink, and you push it out to somebody else at the bar, like you share a drink with somebody else at the bar. But in this case, it means you made a big effort or an extravagant effort, okay? Yeah, somebody else says, you pulled out all the stops. To pull out all the stops actually is terminology from people who play the organ in the church. If you pull out all of the stops in all of the pipes of an organ, it means that you can play everything, okay? So again, pull out all of the stops in this context, in context today, means you did everything possible, okay? It's not related to organ playing now. It just means You did everything you could. You did everything possible, okay? And to go the whole 9 yards pretty much means the same thing, to give it everything. The origin of the whole 9 yards is actually from machine guns, from soldiers. 9 yards is 27 feet. That's the ammunition, the chain of ammunition in a machine gun, a wartime machine gun. So if you give it a whole 9 yards, that means that you've fired your gun for all 27 feet or 9 yards of bullets, basically. But of course, in this case, it means you made every effort. You went the whole 9 yards. It means you've made as much effort as you could to do something. So all three of them are kind of related. You push the boat out is to make an extravagant effort. You pull out all the stops to do everything possible, and the whole 9 yards to really give it everything. Okay? Those are the 3 idioms for today. That's everything for this class. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I upload a new video every Monday and Thursday. And of course, you can join the Facebook group to download all of my resources, including the presentation for today's class. Thank you for learning English with me, and I will see you next class.